Hello everybody, welcome back. Let's have a look at Bitcoin. We'll have a look at Bitcoin dominance. There's no point particularly looking at any altcoins. I suppose they're all in the same bag, which is a bag of opportunity, to be honest, is what I think. But it's what we've been saying, and I suppose for the last few weeks, is that to take profit into Bitcoin, it might be the best course of action, even if we got a dump, which is what we've clearly had. So horrendous dump, massive dump. But with that dump should come opportunity. So there's two ways to look at this. First of all, this is Bitcoin on the weekly, and this is the most important thing I would say for the moment. Anyway, for the moment, things aren't looking all that bad. If we zoom a little closer here now, this is the first time we've tagged the 10 exponential on the weekly in a very long time. But previously when we have tagged that, we have bounced, and usually that's the best way to look at the 10 exponential. Is if we're in a bull market, a continued bull market, we should particularly bounce from it. Now we did have a wick below it. What I would put that down to is that there's a lot of new people in here, and a lot of people over leveraged because I suppose the only way is up is how Bitcoin has behaved for such a long period of time. It's kind of hard to imagine such horrendous dumps, and I guess this in comparison to that's a week. These are weekly candles, but if we just bring this down to reality, have a look at this hourly candle that we see here. This 1 hourly candle on its own, from the top there all the way down to the bottom wicks, 13% in a single hour. You've not really seen anything like that in a while, so it's good to see in a way. I know it's obviously not good for those who have been wrecked or those who have never experienced such a thing, but personally I don't think it's too bad. So first of all, the good news. The good news is this. For a long time now, we've had this money flow index on the weekly, and I've said that one of the expectations I have of this, provided we still stay in a bull market, is that every time we come down to tag this, we get a decent leg up. Now, if we have a look at where we have come down to today, we've tagged it. This is a weekly money flow index chart. So, this has been a staggered approach all the way up to basically the, I suppose January's high. Remember, this is money flow index, yeah? So the money flow has been going down recently as price action's going up. But that, in a way, shows the amount of money that's leaving Bitcoin going into altcoins, yeah? So that would account for something like this. And now, if we go to the Bitcoin dominance chart, we do see that Bitcoin dominance is at a very significant level, all the way back down here. We'll just turn this off, it's very... don't need that. Where we were talking the other day about how we could potentially find a bounce for Bitcoin dominance at this level, just because historically that's where we've bounced from. So hedging into Bitcoin back down here or around these areas was I suppose not my advice, because I'm not a financial advisor, but my strategy. So yes, we've all been wrecked, and altcoins have been wrecked, and Bitcoin has been wrecked, but the dominance chart suggests that Bitcoin has been, at least in the initial dump, stronger than altcoins. And you don't really need to look too far to recognise that is definitely the case. So now we've come down to test this area here. Does this mean that Bitcoin has bottomed, or can it go any further? Well, I mean, it could obviously break down further if money leaves the asset more people sell. The money flow index will also break down below this point, and then that would lead into a more significant drop. Now, we were also talking about this weekly bearish divergence, and I was expecting us to come back up and test this. I was looking for Bitcoin to make a new all-time high, and I suppose it did, but I suppose more of a significant run to tag this before we have an actual retracement or a consolidation down to potentially the 20 weekly, coming in at around about 42,500 as of today. That would be, I suppose, where I'd imagine the bottom form as far as moving averages are concerned. So we do have a very good opportunity, in my opinion, to bounce from here based upon this. This is basically offered us that entry point all the way from down here before the March crash. March crash happened, bang, and then each time we get a pullback, a sizable one, like here for instance, money flow index reads an entry point at this trend line. So we've got a March crash, and then a bounce on the money flow index on the following week. Back down here we also had those kind of reads, so we had big red crash and a bounce up, red, bounce up, red, bounce up, red, bounce up. What have we got now? Red. We should get a bounce up. Alright, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go to a new all-time high, but I actually think that there is a chance that it could do that. This is one of those moments where I suppose people just get afraid, and I don't blame you if you've never seen things like that before. That was a hefty hourly candle, bring us back into what Bitcoin likes to do best, which is to wreck people that are, I suppose, not expecting it. Now there is a chance that this, this chart continues to go down, even down to the $50,000 zone, where we had more or less what is 51,000 this week come down to. We'll have to wait and see. There's no absolute be-all and end-all. Now, one other thing I would say is if we have a look at this formation, and we did sort of, I suppose, briefly speak about this. Yeah, when we come out of these, what often happens is the longer it takes for us to break out, the less likely it is for us to have a giant continuation. So we got a big move out here, came down, tested it 2 days in a row, and just yesterday, well, I suppose it's the early hours of this morning, really broke down all the way down beneath it. This isn't uncommon. I can show you an example of this on BNB. So BNB had the same kind of form taking place. We had I suppose you call them a triangle, an asymmetrical triangle formation. So it's not as easy to see exactly where would we, I suppose that would be it, right? So we were coming towards the apex of this formation, and I remember this very clearly. We were getting right to the end, and we got this spike out, or it may have been this spike out. Everyone was going crazy. Then we had a big breakdown below it. Oh dear, formation failed. No, not at all. Formation was just not really that relevant after all. And finally, when we did get the move from the bottom of that wick to the top, that was only 180% move. So trading formations, I suppose, does sometimes become quite misleading, and it's a bit of a basic strategy. It is a very basic strategy, and one that doesn't really hold as much weight as other things that I would use, such as Ichimoku Cloud and general basic use of oscillators and moving averages. So end of the day, the way I would choose to view this at the moment is that it's an opportunity to try going long, or to not particularly get overly concerned or worried, based upon the way the money flow index is. And yes, we do have bearish divergence, but I do think that we should get at least one more tap up towards this trend line, or at least towards it. Now obviously the it's not looking particularly good, but we're still in the bullish territory here, and unless we break down below the 20 weekly, which is 42,000, then it's going to likely perform a bounce. But it is what it is. Bitcoin is what it is. And we were talking about how altcoins specifically were very overextended on the live stream on Friday. Most of them were looking very overextended, and I was putting the case that Bitcoin is the one that isn't overextended. Not that I could have anticipated this kind of drop like this. Really, actually didn't. It's taken me off guard. I woke up this morning and I actually couldn't really believe what I was looking at. It really did surprise me. But nevertheless, we got it. So now we've got to think about how we're going to play it. Personally, like I say, I'm not worried about this at the moment. So I'm just going to let it play out, and well, I suppose we'll just have to leave it to do its thing. Anyway, I'll leave it with you there. But thanks for watching, and take it easy.